now, or up until fairly recently in our society, things have been looked at in this society in terms of race. Are you white? Are you black? Are you brown? Are you Latino? Whatever. And it meant that particularly for Afro-American people, virtually every phase of life was determined by that reality. Who you married, where you lived, what job you could get, what neighborhoods you could get into safely, into and out of safely, what kinds of education you could pursue, what kinds of occupations you could pursue, what kinds of political status you could aspire to, what kinds of expectations might you have for your children, your grandchildren. All of those things were primarily determined by race. Well, today we are past that era. Now mind you, let me make a distinction. When I say post-racial era, I mean post-racial in the sense that race itself stamps everything you do in every part of your life. We are not past the racism era. So make that distinction. There's a racial era and there's a racism era. There is residual racism. There is residual racist policy. There is residual effects of race. There are occasional, and sometimes more than occasional, acts of violence or debasement or disparagement based upon race. But the racial era is over in the sense that in many communities, in most communities, particularly in larger communities, you can pursue the occupation you want, you can associate with whom you want, you can live where you want to be, you can aspire to political office. Indeed, the highest office in the land, as I speak to you, is now occupied by a person who 50 years ago, or 20 years ago, or 30 years ago, or last year might have been considered impossible. So post-racial as opposed to post-racism. In this country, I think are coming to the realization that we are in stiff competition for ascendancy in the world in terms of what we do, what we produce, what we manufacture, and all the rest. This cannot be accomplished if roughly a tenth of the population is mired down in poverty, crime, maleducation, becoming a drain on the public coffers, needing compensatory programs, taxing the taxpayers to an enormous degree. And so therefore, as we see our competition developing, it means, and I think corporate people, corporate leaders will realize this, they're looking at bottom lines, they're looking at the end product, and therefore their judgments are these. How can we bring to bear on the competitive forces that we face the best possible competitive model? Answer: the best competitive model exists when all of the citizens of the country are educated to the maximum degree, and all can participate and put their shoulders to the wheel in becoming more productive, more constructive, more unified as a society. When we began to dismantle those rigid lines based upon race, that's when it was the racial era. When those lines began to come down, those walls began to come down, all of a sudden, the international community had to look at us in a new way, the same way they look at us in a new way now, because we have made strides and they see us now as practicing what we preach and doing what we say on a broad, uniform scale. So therefore, that was a dividend internationally. And so all of these dividends represent the kind of impact that these white corporate heroes will have on the society. Now let's get to the heroism part, because thus far, all of these actions could be justified by simply good business, common sense, good, decent people, altruistic influence. It begins to drift from all of those wonderful attributes into heroism when you start crossing into other kinds of issues. And I predict that this will come in the not too distant future. When you begin to see corporations running social messages, not political messages, but social messages as a part of their outpouring and mixing their appeal for their products and services with a social message, then you will begin to see the heroism. Because what will happen, what that means is they will then be running against the grain of society a bit. They'll be carefully gauging. And after all, they have all the posters and focus groups and everything that they need to know when they should make this next step. And you see a message saying, we cannot afford to waste people. We need to reclaim human potential. We need to get these people up and running, so to speak. These people need to be contributing. We need to find out what the problems are, get them educated to the extent that they can, get them skills, not because we're being charitable, not because it's a good thing to do. It's because the essence of the nation is to successfully compete in what it does. And we cannot compete until we have everybody maximally taken care of in terms of education and those kinds of things. It helps and strengthens us. Thank you. It strengthens us as a nation. When you start seeing those kinds of ads, then you will see them stepping off into new areas that will excite the nation, inspire the nation, and all the rest of it. So what I'm hoping is that in times to come, what we will see is that white corporate America, and you look for it on your television sets, look for it in your media, you're going to begin to see a shift and change in the image of minorities. And it will be because it will result in several things: business dividends, social dividends, international dividends. And we will be the wiser, we will be the happier, we will be more prosperous because of becoming white corporate heroes in the post-racial era. Thank you very much. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you very much. Thank you.